find a space to sit down, and we're going to get started here. Good morning. Good morning. And you got your coffee there. So you may want to turn around and, all right, if you would grab yourself a cup of coffee, whatever, you can certainly get up and move around. We'll give you a lot of time. We'll talk to all the people at the tables and then give you time at the end to do that too. So. All right, well, welcome from the sustainability team. I will just mention our names, but everybody can introduce themselves when they're talking. I'm Ann Thureen. We've got Lana Doolin here, Sherry Hedlund in the back, Donna Steinwald, Lynette Thompson, and where's Elaine? There's Elaine, Elaine Cole. And we focus on sustainability, the things you see in the church with the recycle bins and that. We also do a lot of work with the outside sustainability. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the agenda today. If you go to the next slide, please. Oh, first of all, before the agenda, I guess this came up. We're going to be talking a lot today. Lana's going to talk a lot about this fantastic book, the Climate Action Handbook. It's a really straightforward book with easy things that you can do to make a difference. And we thought it was kind of interesting because our theme last year, if you can read it, is Small Acts Transform the World. And this is just right along that line. These are all a lot of small acts, things you can do that can help with climate change. So we're going to talk about that in detail. But we thought it was such a good book, we're going to have a drawings today. We've got 6 copies to give away, so that's what the little basket is in front of you. If you want to put your name in for a book, we'll take a drawing at the end. All right, next. Okay, here's the agenda. So, again, Lana's going to be talking to us about the Action Handbook for about 15 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the things we do. If anybody else wants to share some of the things they're doing after you hear how that fits in. And then we have some wonderful people helping us and tables at the back. So we're going to talk about upcycling clothing, Buy Nothing, Ridwell, and zero waste products, and sustainability in the kitchen. And so you'll hear a little bit about all of those, and then you'll have some time at the end to visit the tables, and then, of course, the drawing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lana and let her do you have a mic? Okay. All right. Thanks, Lana.
Thank you, Ann. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. I was going to get my book out. I have my book earmarked to all the places I love in this book. So next slide, please. So this book is written by Dr. Heidi Roop. She is Climate Adaptation Partnership at the University of Minnesota. If you guys listen to NPR News, she is the new Mark Seeley. She's a climate Scientologist. She recently spoke on NPR on Earth Day. If you want to catch it, it's a little 15-minute clip. She talked to Kathy Werther about tips that everybody can do to integrate climate action in their daily lives. And that's what the book is about. Next slide, please. So in the book, she really talks about shifting the conversation from your carbon footprint to your climate action footprint. The fossil fuel industry actually started the whole concept of carbon footprint to shift the focus from their activities and their production to individuals. So they got us feeling really guilty about all the actions that we're doing. So this is a really awesome example of things that we can do, but we also still need to keep the focus on the fossil fuel industries. But her main point is looking at your own climate action footprint, and this is a great guide for it. Next slide, please. So she's got the book organized by mitigation steps that we can take. How do we prevent the problem from getting worse? And how we can adapt to a changing environment. And the sections, the book's ordered by different sections. Next slide, please. And it's got different areas of topic. You don't have to start at the beginning. You really can start with the things that you're most interested in. She talks about the need to stay positive and energized. It's going to be a long haul, and you need to kind of focus on the things that give you energy, where your passions are, the things that get you out of bed every day, looking forward to taking action. We all have days when sometimes you read a book that's a lot of doom, and it can be depressing, and that's not really where we want to be focusing. We want to focus on what can we do and how can we talk to people and get them interested. So the book's great. It's got a lot of illustrations in it. She teamed up with a great illustrator who can take statistics and make them really really easy to understand and interesting. She's also got good quotes in it. Each action has about 300 words, so it's easy reading, and you just find the sections that you want to focus on today. Next slide, please. So one of the main things she talks about is where you're going to focus your energy, and she really talks about focusing on your strengths and your passions. We need everybody having conversations with friends, talking about the things you have in common, and encouraging people to start to take action. And she really highlights, don't focus on the negative, don't be an alarmist, don't scare people. That's not motivating for people to take action. It really is finding those little common things you might share with someone, and then work into the conversation about how climate change is going to affect that. So if you're talking to someone who skis or plays hockey, you might talk about this past winter when St. Anthony only had the ice hockey rinks open for 1 week because it was too warm. And then you can take that into, well, here's what I do to help stop the problem from getting any worse. Next slide, please. So she focuses on 2 sources of energy, and this first one is all about your home and what you can do to reduce the energy in your home. It's about energy efficiency. It's about using renewable energy. It's about taking advantage of well, she doesn't talk about the Inflation Reduction Act, but it is about electrifying and reducing the use of your energy. Because for the most part, except for your car, this is where everybody's emissions really come from, is within your home. Next slide, please. So last week, we talked about the Inflation Reduction Act. Some people from the Sierra Club talked about it, and I still have handouts from it if you didn't pick them up, but this Clean Energy Resource Teams, they're one of the primary nonprofit organizations here. They team up with Great Plains Institute, and they help make you understand what the Inflation Reduction Act is. They're the ones that created all these sites and all of the examples. It's a great place for resources if you're interested in starting. They talk about practical steps to clean energy, how you can learn about new topics, and they actually help you get assistance with getting started. Next slide, please. And then another great resource here at the state, it's a nonprofit organization that works hand in hand with the state, is Center for Energy and the Environment. You can go on their website and you can look at the programs that they offer, as well as they have loans available. So Bob and I are going to go through Center for Energy and the Environment to fund some of the solar panels that we're putting on our roof this year. Last week I mentioned that, with being retired and we want to stay in a range of what our annual income is, we are going to fund a portion of it that lets us take advantage of the tax credit this year. We're going to fund that with qualified retirement funds so we can take advantage of the tax credit. And then next year we'll fund the rest with our Roth. So we are actually going to take out a low interest loan through Center for Energy and Environment. They have like a 6% loan for solar, and they have a comparable one if you guys want to do energy efficiency, things like windows, insulation. Those are the types of things they fund. Next slide, please. So the other form of energy she's talking about is personal energy. She uses these dots. Anybody got a guess what this big dot is? It's the sun, absolutely, right? It's what gives us life. Any other guess? The Earth. Good guesses. She talks about that little dot there represents the climate deniers. It's less than 10% of all the people in the country. Don't focus your energy there. You're not going to convince them. Focus your energy here. This is the people who are cautious or alarmed about climate change. And this is where you really want to be spending your time. Talk to people, find a connection, stay positive, talk about the things that you do, and recommend some actions that you're already taking that they might consider. Or I'll also promote the book. It's just a great resource. Next slide, please. So inside of the book, this is the thing that helped me really, I loved this slide. It's what encouraged me to run for city council. She talks about, our elected leaders are the ones that are going to make decisions that decide how much and if we take climate action as a nation. And only less than 1% of our elected leaders are at the federal level. That may be where a lot of the money is, but it's not where all the action happens. And only 4% are at the state level, and everybody else, over 500,000 elected officials, are at your local level, and that's where you can really make things happen in your community. I made one handout for you guys. If anybody is into advocating, the Minnesota State, last year they passed a lot of legislation on programs to fund nonprofit and city entities. They just came out with this new grant opportunity for cities. If anybody wants to advocate with your city manager or your own city councils, this is the new state program that they just released it. Applications are being taken from Earth Day to the beginning of June. Your city takes a look at this chart, and all the benefits are based on need. And so there's a tiered ranking. Your city manager finds what your ranking is. They divide their net tax capacity by their population. And depending on your tier, so St. Anthony is a tier 2 on here. So the state will fund 60% of a 40 kilowatt solar array that either goes on top or adjacent to buildings. And then the city also can take advantage of the 30% federal tax credit. They actually get a check back because they're not a taxing body. And so here in St. Anthony, 60% of a 40 array on top of a building will be paid for by the state. We'll fund 40%, and once we install it, we'll get a check for 30%. So it's only going to cost the city 10% of the cost of a solar array. Every city should be doing it, right? It is, why would you not? Because so much of the expense is not going to hit your taxpayers. Yeah?
It said that recently now there's been less interest in solar arrays residential-wide.
From presidential-wide?
Well, just
Across the country. Yeah, right, sorry. The question is, recently there's been less interest nationwide in putting solar on. I think there are concerns that are being raised by people about the ones I've heard anyways, about the recyclability in 25 years of that metal and that technology. That's the coating they put on to actually do all of the absorbing. Yep, it's a question I assume will get worked out in the next 25 years. What I would say to somebody who asks me questions, because somebody has asked me about, they've talked about the mining of precious metals and all of the environmental impacts with that. I also think there's just as many precious metals and environmental impact from mining for vehicles. We have not considered for the last 60 years, the end product of what are we doing with all those cars. I think there's just as much metal recycling we have to do with getting rid of vehicles as there will be with solar panels. I think we'll figure it out. I trust that actually is going to be more well regulated because it's going to take a solar installer or some contractor who's going to be taking all of those down. And I think that's easier to regulate how you deal with the end product. It's a good question. And certainly we need to be thinking about it, but we also should be applying it to things we've already got accustomed to doing, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So our son has a research project, the Research Triangle in North Carolina, and that's specifically what his research project this summer is making solar power more sustainable with hybrid PERSCA, something that I can't pronounce.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, so that technology is being worked on.
Yep. And I know the technology is also advancing. Like right now, our current manufactured products only use UV light for energy production. But there's a company in Germany that actually is laying down different layers of coating on panels now that will absorb different colors of light coming out of the sun. So they're going to be a lot more energy productive, the new panels. So I think some of the other questions with the Inflation Reduction Act, they put a lot of conditional things on trying to get manufacturing back here in the States. So it might be there's a clause within the solar rewards around the manufacturing and where you're sourcing your panels from as well. Okay, next slide. I'm just going to cover a couple more slides in here to kind of set up what we've got on our display. So the fashion industry is one of the, I consider it one of the hugest polluters. It accounts for about 10% of all of the carbon emissions. Here in the United States particularly, we do a lot of buying of clothing. And Emily's here. She's going to talk about upcycling clothing. It's a new thing that's really popular with our younger generation. They thrift. They don't buy a lot. A lot of kids thrift. They don't buy new. But she's got statistics in here that just talk about what percentage of our clothes are used once and discarded. And this particular organization, Shein, is it? They're online. They ship everywhere. They produce so much clothing that they know they're not going to ship. It really is, they want to have demand available or capacity available so that if demand happens, they actually produce the same amount as 100 coal-fired power plants in emissions every year, right? So it really is, if we can stop the cycle of everybody thinking they need always new clothing, it's going to be a huge impact. Next slide, please. She also talks a lot about food production, just being aware of the carbon cycle from the start of feeding and what goes into the feed for animals to the end product, right? So this is a comparison of how much land is needed to produce food or soy-based milk versus cow-based milk. Next slide. And this is an image I found from oceana.org. I love this because it talks about the carbon emissions by the types of protein. So you can see cows are here, and down here is your soy or plant-based, and everything's in between. And if you're like me, I love beef. One of the things that you can consider, because it's a tough thing, especially for Bob and I to give up, but if you shop locally, there's a lot of farmers in Minnesota who actually will do processing with a local butcher. And if you shop that way from somebody you know that is farming well, like they farmed for so long, it's not a huge feedlot, that significantly reduces that emissions. So that's what I'm choosing to do. Donna, I think you order beef from a farmer. Yeah. So, next slide, please. All right. The last thing that she focuses on is thanking people. Show gratitude for any climate action that you see, because nothing is too small. And by thanking people, that really encourages them to keep doing more. So with that, and I can attest to this, Grace went to see Heidi at the Roseville Library, and she thanked me the next day, and I can't tell you how wonderful that felt. It really is an inspiring thing. So I'm going to give you one last example about shifting from carbon footprint to climate action footprint. I saw Heidi talk in February at a class at the U. She lectured at the Environmental Futures class. And those kids are doing a lot of research on climate, so they're really attuned to a lot of things. And it was the day after the Super Bowl, and one of the students asked her, you know, what do you think of Taylor Swift and all of the carbon emissions from her private jet? And rather than talking about those bad emissions, because a lot of people have them, they just were focusing on Taylor Swift at the time. She flipped it around and said, yeah, but she has, 2-3 million followers? Imagine the impact she can have by one tweet talking about a climate action, right? So it really is, don't focus on this, because we know this is a part of people's lives. It's how can we shift over and talk about what can we be doing to help? So I'll turn it over to Ann.
Lana, a round of applause. Thank you. And if you haven't put your name in for this book, you should put your name in the drawing because it's really good. So we wanted to just do a little bit to share some things that we're doing, that we're thinking about, and then we have some other people here to help talk too about some of the areas that they're doing. So I'll start with myself. I'm a gardener, and one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine is lawn. When you think about lawns, how much water it takes if you want to maintain a lawn, the chemicals, all of those things. So I have a tiny bit of lawn, about the size of 3 of these tables, and that's it. And I'm working to get rid of it, right? But I'm very conscious about my watering, the plants that I have, what kind of water that they need, that kind of thing. So that's my little piece of what I'm doing to help. Lynette, you want to share?
Good morning, everybody. I have become aware in the last few weeks of how wasteful I am with my food. I live alone. I like to cook. I do enter the grocery store with a list, and I sometimes have bigger dreams than what really happens in the next week or so. So I had a bag of broccoli that was intended for a good, yummy, nutritious salad, and that broccoli just got wilted and, as you can imagine, looked horrible. And I had to toss that in the last few weeks. This morning, I thought, what can I eat quickly before I drive over here? I had made some homemade rhubarb graham muffins about a week ago and was down to one, put that container in the back of my refrigerator. And it sounded really good this morning. I pulled it out and I ate it, and so far so good. So it's a mixture of good and bad. I do make out a grocery list. I've gotten better about making soup, but I have a long ways to go, and I think I just have an increased awareness of many other things I can do to reduce my food waste.
Good morning. I'm Donna Steinman, and like Lynette, I'm living alone now, sadly. But anyway, I think my sustainable passion is around the kitchen, food, and gardening. And for example, last year, I have a friend that grew too many plants inside, and she was giving them away. And I thought I picked up a parsley plant. It was celery. And this celery plant was probably 2 feet in diameter by the time I decided to deal with it. I cleaned it, and then dehydrated it, and this is what it is. So, anyway, it's using local food and gardening and planning. You know, and I too am susceptible to aspirational ingredients. Yep, and I have to say, it's hard. It's hard, Lynette. Yeah. Anyway, so who else do we need?
Do you want to talk any more about come back?
We'll come back.
Okay, we'll come back.
Hi, I'm Sherry Helland, and I think for myself, it's finding the best recycling option for every item. So putting that effort in, I've started to become trying to get to be more of a minimalist, and that requires decluttering. So every item I'm decluttering, I'm still trying to find that best home for it, versus just go through that effort and get it in the garbage and get the effort done. So I feel good if I can find the right home and learn that outcome of those items.
That's good, and we'll learn about some more of those homes in a bit. Yeah.
I'm Elaine Cole, and my husband calls me a water Nazi. There's a lot of tension in our house over how can you wash the few dishes that don't go in the dishwasher with the least water possible. Or like when I wash vegetables, I catch the water in a bucket and I take it outside and dump it in the garden instead of just letting it go down the drain. I don't always do that, but I try to do that. So I guess water's my thing. Who else needs to talk?
Emily? Do we want to go to Emily and Eva now?
Hello. Yeah, of course. So I'm Emily. I'm here with Charavel. And so I do upcycled clothing. It's a small business hobby that I had too much of for just myself, so now a small business. And so I do upcycled clothing. So it's a new word for something that I think is much older than fast fashion. But as we know, fast fashion is growing quickly, and there are more than enough clothes out there for us. So just thinking about how we can really repurpose them, pieces that, either I'm finding that have stains or just look a little bland. So I do a lot of thrifting for really blankets, and then I'll pick things like jeans or other things, denim jackets, and kind of spruce them up with what I'm finding. So yeah, that's a little about that, but feel free to come look at things and really think about, I'm here with upcycling, but I think clothing in general, just like there is enough stuff. And so, whether that's like online websites where you can shop secondhand, the thrift store, Buy Nothing pages. I love my local Buy Nothing when I'm giving away stuff, not to steal other people's thunder. But yeah, okay, who should I pass to?
Hi, I'm Eva Grooms. What I'm talking about today is this company called Ridwell that comes to your doorstep and takes various items for recycling. And it's a fee service, so you pay to be part of Ridwell. But the joy of Ridwell is that their plan and what their practice is it's a closed loop. So they only take things that they know they have a manufacturer or an outsource for that to be used. So for example, they take clothes. Threads is the bag that you have for clothes or shoes, and their partner is Goodwill. So Goodwill will sell what they know they can sell, and then Goodwill has, for things that aren't usable to be sold again for clothing, it gets repurposed for industrial purposes, for rags and things like that. As an example of their closed loop, they did, and I'm not sure if it was straight through the threads or they also have rotating featured categories, but they had outdoor clothing. So imagine your 5-year-old snow pants that the knees are shot out and horrible, but the sleeves or the body of it is fine. They had a manufacturer that made bags out of, this is repurposed snowmobile suits and jackets and things. And it is so well made. And this thing is my gym bag now, and it will work till I am no longer on the planet. So they also, with two of their categories, one that you have to up your subscription to a additional fee, are plastics. So multi-layer plastic, and this is your chip bags, my dog's special treats, the water softener salts, dog food bags, potting soil bags, and let me backtrack. So the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, and then Ridwell is maybe a 4th. So my initial thing is I want to try to buy the least amount of plastic I possibly can. But I don't always shop at the co-op. I don't always reuse. I do end up with plastic bags in my life. And these don't go through curbside recycling. If you put it in there, that's called wish cycling, meaning I hope somebody does something with this, but I don't want it in my house anymore, and I want to feel like I'm doing the right thing. So much of our recycling curbside is going to landfills. So with Ridwell, the hope and the dream is that they are taking these multi-layer plastic bags, chip bags, granola bar bags, things like that that you end up having, and they make other products. So one thing that they made is this Echo Pot. So this is something that I then purchased again. So again, this is money, you know, you're paying to do this, but we have to, in a market economy, money talks. So they made these plastic pots, and this is out of many, many, many of these. And then they made these little smart gravel pellets. And so the idea is you put this in the bottom of the pot, and then you put soil, and so there's drainage in the bottom of the pot. And I am using one of these right now, and it seems to be working fairly well. So I can't speak to the off-gassing of the plastics. There's probably other issues. Nothing is perfect, but again, there's something happening, and they're trying to make a closed loop. So the other categories that they take are batteries, which I have told all my neighbors to bring batteries because I rarely have them. They will even take exploded batteries, but you put it in a bag, and then they will recycle this bag with the plastic film. They ask that you tape your batteries so they don't have battery explosions in their plants. They take light bulbs. They take, like I said, shoes and clothes, and then so they come and pick up every other week at your doorstep, and this is your little cart or little box you have. They will have features. So they will have eyeglasses, school supplies. They had dishes and cutlery. They had Halloween candy. So they will find people that will want to do something with these things, and they will take it from you, and then at their plant, they distribute it to the people that want to use it. So I have lots of details. I do have Ridwell. I told them I was going to do this, and they offered a little QR code, so you get 1 month free if you want to try it out. So come in. It costs $16 a month, and that is, for me, I believe that was before the up, so I think it would be $18 a month for me to do the multi-layer. But I did a 1 year, so it was $208 for a whole year with the multi-layer plastic edition, because this is the biggest one that I have. I also end up helping a lot on the Wednesday night meals, and I try to grab plastic.
I was going to recognize all the great work. We are so thankful that she takes our plastic bags home because it makes our food waste, or our waste here from our Wednesday night meals, virtually less. I mean, we compost, we recycle, and it really is those plastic bags that are the last of our waste. So I think it really makes us be a zero waste supper.
So we'll give you a chance to talk to Eva more about Ridwell. My neighbor has it, and we were talking about that, you know, she said she tells her neighbor, and for me, I get to take advantage of Ridwell. My neighbor says, oh, they're doing cords, you know, electric cords, all those extra cords, you've forgotten what they went to. Yes. You know, they did that.
They've had cords, they've had like You know the little pull tabs on your soy milk, the little white thing that comes out? They'll take those, like, and it's like once a year or something. So you just end up having little boxes where you save these things, and then when they call for it, you're like, yay, and you dump it in your bag. Plastic coffee lids, like, I obviously try to bring my own cup. Like, that's the first step. Don't get a plastic coffee lid. But if you end up having one, like, now I collect them. Like, I brought them home from Michigan when we were visiting our son, because I know, like, once a year they're going to say, okay, coffee lids, and I'm like, yay, I have a whole bag of them. So, yeah.
Do they take Christmas lights?
Yeah.
They do take Christmas lights.
And do they take technology or electronics?
Yes, they do. They'll
Awesome.
they'll call for cell phones, old cell phones and things like that. So,
Wonderful.
yeah. So I would suggest, like, if you have neighbors, like, maybe do one on the block. So,
Thank you, even though that's awesome.
Well, this third table is demonstrating some of the products that are available through Tare Market. That's T-A-R-E. There are 2 stores in the metro area. Lana has
One on Broadway.
has done a lot of shopping at Tare. I have not, so she's familiar with the use of these, but I'm impressed with all of the different products that can save us in these years to come. I'm especially impressed with the dental flossers that every time I use one of those plastic dental flossers, I look at the pointed end and think, what fish is going to swallow that and have an early demise? So please feel free to come up and look at all the products. If I can answer questions, I will attempt to do that.
You'll notice up on the screen also, we have 2 QR codes. If you're interested in looking at all the products that Tare Market offers, they have a website. And then some of these products also come off Amazon. You can specifically look for zero waste products. Like this liquid soap for your kitchen. It's liquid. It comes in a box that's recyclable. There's a few other products, the Eco laundry sheets and Eco dishwasher tab soap. Lots of products.
Steve?
Where's the-
Talk a little more, Lynette? Oh,
No.
Steve. Sorry. Okay.
I have a question about recycling. I live at Applewood Point in Roseville, 94 units, and I think our facility does a pretty doggone good job of conscious recycling. Our recycling stuff is picked up on Thursdays and Mondays from our facility. My question has to do with black plastic. I believe that it's correct to say that black plastic is not recyclable in Roseville. And I believe if you go to Olive Garden or other places and you take your food home, it's sent back in black plastic. And the reason black plastic is not recyclable because the machines can't sort them out, and the black contaminates the rest of the quality of the plastic. Can't we do something about that? I mean, the volume of that is just, it's got to be humongous.
So Grace is suggesting that when you go out to eat, bring your own leftover containers. One of the things I just did yesterday, we have a new restaurant here in town. It's called La Villita, and I'm trying to encourage people to go there. And we went out and took out, and they have styrofoam in their to-go containers. So I went to Costco, and I bought her first package full of compostable to-go containers, and took them to her and said, please try these, see if they meet your needs. And they're right there at Costco Business Center. So I think part of it is also talking to that establishment and saying, could you look for a less wasteful way of packaging? One of the things that I know is a good incentive, here at Nativity, we started composting 3 years ago now, And we really showed how it's a net neutral benefit. The cost of composting to pay that dumpster, we significantly reduced the amount of trash that we're producing. So we went to a smaller trash bin, and since there's no food product and it doesn't get stinky, we also went to every 2-week pickup, and the savings from getting that out of our waste stream offsets the cost of paying the weekly hauler for the composting. And our daycare facility and Heather, for all of our church ordering, we only buy compostable products. So it's just been a great win for not only us, but for the environment as well. But there are grants available through the counties, Ramsey and Hennepin, for those businesses to start switching to compostables. Anoka too? Great. Thank you.
I'm going to talk about Buy Nothing, which is a Facebook group. I think we're probably all old enough that we still use Facebook. At any rate, so has anybody given any thought to what happens to all those poinsettias and Easter lilies that are up there? You give thought to it? Do you know what happens to them? No, I asked if I could have them. Oh, well, I take them home and compost them, so we need to talk. But after I compost all those plants, then I have all those pots left over that they were in. So I save them up, and last week I went on to the Buy Nothing New Brighton Facebook group and said, with a little picture, I have all these pots available. Does anybody want them? And within a half hour, somebody said, I can use those pots. So we exchanged addresses, and I put them on my front porch, and he came and got them. And that's what Buy Nothing does. It takes stuff that you don't want and finds a home for it. Or you can say, I'm looking for something, and somebody will say, oh, I got that. You can have mine. And that keeps it out of the waste stream. You know, it saves me having to drive down to Hidden Treasures and give them, you know, I mean, they might not want, they're not going to want empty flower pots anyways, you know, and, Do you sell a lot of empty pots? Okay. Well, and during the pandemic, when everything was shut down, pretty much, including you guys, to some extent, my mother died, so we went through and rationalized all of her stuff with our stuff, and we had a lot of really nice stuff, but we had a lot of stuff, so we just started slowly putting it on Buy Nothing, and now, you know, my neighbor's got the extra wine glasses, and somebody in the trailer park over here has got some stuff, and we kind of met people that way, and then we know now, if we have something, I can just contact you directly and say, hey, do you want first crack at this, you know, so it's just kind of nice, and it's, there's one for every community. It's a community based, so like you couldn't, if you live in St. Anthony, you'd be in Buy Nothing St. Anthony or whatever. But it's really easy to use. Don has had some interesting experiences with a, yeah.
Thank you, Elaine.
I think Buy Nothing is magic. I mean, like, literally, sometimes I think we just have a distribution problem. Like, I've got too many paper clips. Somebody out there wants them, and Buy Nothing is a way to, like, find that other person. It's fabulous.
I have a question for you, Donna. So I brought this spray that I thought was going to be really awesome smelling to spray on my cushions and stuff like that, just to freshen it. I do not like it. It's only had 2 squirts out of it. Can I put that on Buy Nothing?
Totally. It is magic. Because, like, sadly, my stepson died last year, and he had a lot of, like, shampoo and body wash that was somewhat used, like nothing was below half, and some were almost full, but what are you going to do with these open containers? I washed them all off, I put them in a bag, I took a picture of them, put them in a bag, and said, these are all opened, I have no use for these, does somebody want them? Immediately someone said, my husband would love those. Great, come pick them up.
Yeah, so that's the advantage of Buy Nothing. First of all, you can't sell anything, and so, you know, it's not that kind of a marketplace. You just be honest about something. This is well used, this is slightly used, this is open, whatever, and we do a lot of that, yeah.
I would say, too, there's a borrow option. So I recently had to take a sewing machine to the shop, and I went in the Buy Nothing, and I said, is anybody not using it? I can use it for like 2 weeks. So if you only need something for a short turnaround, making sure that you don't, buy something new if there's something already out there.
And another thing about it, it's more about just first come, first serve. It's about building community. And because I joined during the pandemic, it was a way for me to really get to know a lot of people. I live in Columbia Heights, and it's not like the first person who comments. At least we have a really good administrator, and it can really depend on who your administrator is and how good they are. I know my sister's isn't very good. It's all just kind of gimme, gimme, gimme. Because you can put asks out too. Like there was one day I was working on a project, and I said, does anyone have like 2 inches of black Velcro? And somebody had it, and so I didn't have to go to the store and get it. But there's one more thing I was gonna say. Oh, you talked about borrow. It also can be asked for like help. Like I said, I have this one rectangle of sidewalk that I want to remove because I was putting in a new fence. Does anyone know how to do it? And the engineer 2 blocks down came over and broke it up. I'm going like, okay, now I have all this concrete chunk, so what am I going to do with it? So I put it on Buy Nothing. Does anyone have a use for that? And someone's like, oh yeah, I'm going to use it for stepping stones in my garden. So it doesn't have to be just to give away stuff. It can be to get stuff or get help or whatever.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yep, and so there's a little note here about how do you find a group. I'm in Northeast, same, and we have sort of the 2 demographics of older people and young first-time buyers. So we've got a great flow of things going back and forth, right? Also, I just wanted to mention, Emily talked about the reuse and upcycling clothes, but we don't want you to put your clothes in the trash. You talked about fast fashion. You can donate your clothes. Hidden Treasures, thank you, takes clothes. You can repair them and reuse. We were talking, Elaine was talking about how she had a hole with t-shirts in it, and she cut off the bottom and put a new strip around the bottom, right? So just like you're doing with upcycling. Also, the thing is, buy sustainability. When you're buying clothes, buy something that you know is going to last, and you can rely on it as opposed to, we're probably not all into the fast fashion, I must admit, but buying sustainability makes a difference too. And we talk about how much of your clothes is actually really has to go to waste. Very little of it. Most of it can be recycled or donated or whatever. And if you've ever seen, I saw a TV show the other day where they showed the bales and bales of clothes going to countries in Africa where they're, in theory, reusing them, but even they have more than they can deal with. And so you showed all these clothes being dumped in the ocean just because there was just too much. So I think that's a big thing to think about.
There was a mile-high pile of clothing, excess clothing down in South America that caught fire, and it was just a massive fire down there. There's lots of toxic things about clothing. One of the things about sustainable clothing, if you have 100% cotton clothing, and it really is beyond usability, that also composts. Another thing I do, your used towels that you just, they may be stained or not worth using again, or used rugs, you can take those to the Humane Society. They use it for bedding for animals.
If you collected the names. All right, so as we're getting close to time, we're going to do our exciting drawing here, and thank you, Sherry. And while we do that, we encourage you afterwards to stop around and talk to people, look at the different tables. So, Sherry. All right.
Is there anyone else?
Adeline, yay. Okay. There you go, Adeline, okay. Melissa Thomas. All right. Enjoy, okay. Handwriting, we're getting used to Ella? Ella? Oh. Edla. Is this you? Is this you, Edla? All right. We'll give you a pen instead of a pencil next time. All right, we're three more. Okay. Thomas Peel. Thomas Peel. There we go. Nice. All right. Oh, all right. And oh, Karen Weiberg. Nice writing, Karen. And we're distributing them at all the tables randomly. This is kind of amazing. And one more here. Becky Groseth. Becky Groseth. All right. Well, enjoy these books. I'm sure, as Lana said, they're easy to read. They've got some good information. So any questions before we let you just get up and talk to people? Oh, we got a couple here. Okay.
I was just going to say, I brought my kitchen scale if anyone wants to practice or figure out how to work the scales at the Terra Market. So what you do is you turn your scale on, it goes to 0, you put your container on, you 0 it out again, you just press it again, and then you get the weight of the container. Then you go fill up your container with the product that you want, you know, how big do you want it to be, whatever. And then you have a label of the bin number and then the weight. And then they'll figure out how much you need to pay for that. So that's how that works. I have a scale here. It's near Central and Broadway,
Yep.
right?
At that old Simonette bedding manufacturer. That's the one at
Yeah, there's-
Northeast. And then the other one is down Hiawatha on 38th, I think. And it's just a block or two into the west of Hiawatha.
And then I've got a photographable recipe for glass cleaner, homemade glass cleaner that really works.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who's here and the Nativity community. Remember when we collected the caps off of bottles and recycled those, and apartment buildings brought those? And so that was a long, long time ago. And I think with the new dishwasher upstairs, I think this has always been a community who's willing to go the extra mile. So thank you. And we quit collecting the tops of bottles because when I go to Avita, they had found a manufacturer who would recycle those caps. And there were just huge semi-trucks full of caps. And eventually, the manufacturer didn't want to deal with those caps. So it costs money when you start buying, reworking plastic into something else. But those were the days where we had to have a lot of bins because you filled up those bins with bottle caps in a couple of days.
You know, I also give out a shout out to Melissa and Karen. They both sell Norwix products, and they are really sustainable products. They're built to last. You don't use chemicals with most of them. It really is a great way to clean your house, and just it's just great. Yep. Melissa hasn't used paper towels in 5 years, so it's awesome. So this is the last month. We have a sustainability month. It's April, so we've had 4 weeks of sustainability. So this is our last month. But if you guys are interested in learning more, we certainly would be happy to do another session.
I think she wants to know when you guys meet.
Oh, when we meet. Oh. We're also the gardeners. It's starting, so we would, yeah. We would love to have you come help us.
We can do two things at once: weed and talk about sustainability.
Yeah, so if you're interested in learning more about the gardening or sustainability, shoot a note to Kyle and he'll get in touch with one of us and we can talk, meet, we can arrange for another thing that we want to learn about. Really happy to help.
If you notice the sign went out, the sign, that was all rose bushes.
Yeah, last.
Lots of work to get those old rose bushes out.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Stop at the table, so.
Yeah, come visit the tables. People would love to talk to you.